Jai Gurudev. Today we are honored to have with us an esteemed expert in the art of living and an officer from the Vedic Dharma Sansthan. We are here to discuss how the ancient wisdom of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji and the practices of the art of living like meditation, Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, and other powerful tools can offer profound insights into the political satire we see in Yes Minister. From the perspectives of governance, personal growth, and spiritual practices, we will explore how the lessons from the series can be transformed into deeper self awareness, effective leadership, and better societal outcomes. Thank you both for joining us today. To start, how do you feel the wisdom from Yes Minister, especially in regard to bureaucracy and political maneuvering, can be addressed through the art of living? Jai Gurudev, yes, thank you for having us. Yes, Minister provides a vivid portrayal of the power struggles, manipulations, and internal conflicts that often take place in political and bureaucratic systems. So, what's striking is the tension between personal ideas, public expectations, and bureaucratic inertia. These elements echo the internal conflicts we experience in our personal lives as well, whether it's resistance to change, ego driven decision making, or struggling with the pressure of external influence. From the perspective of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji's teachings, the first step is self-awareness. His teachings on meditation, particularly Sudarshan Kriya, help us to clear the mind and bring clarity to situations. Much like how Jim Hacker needs clarity in a web of contradictory advice and opposition. In fact, meditation helps to counteract the confusion and mental clutter that often clouds judgment, as seen when Hacker is overwhelmed by the bureaucratic complexities around him. Meditation teaches the practitioner to witness the mind rather than be driven by it. So, in the context of Yes Minister, if Hacker were to incorporate a regular meditation practice, he could navigate these power dynamics with the more detachment, making decisions based on a clearer vision rather than on the emotional triggers from Sir Humphrey or his advisors. Indeed, the ancient wisdom of Vedic practices such as Upanayana, the sacred thread ceremony, and Sandhya Vandanam, the daily prayers, provides a foundation for internal discipline and connection to a higher purpose. These practices instill a sense of responsibility, respect for tradition, and integrity, all of which are critical when we deal with the focus of bureaucracy and politics. Take Upanayana, for example, which marks the beginning of spiritual education. When a young individual enters into this phase, they are taught to honor their teachers, seek knowledge with humility, and live with purpose. This resonates deeply with the challenges Hacker faces when dealing with Sir Humphrey's relentless manipulation. If Hacker could approach his political role with the humility and discipline of a student under Upanayana, his actions would be more aligned with public service and less swayed by ego or political gamesmanship. Similarly, Sandhya Vandanam involves reflection, discipline, and connection to the divine. This process helps one realign their thoughts and actions. If Hacker engaged in a daily practice of self reflection like Sandhya Vandanam, it would be easier for him to separate political ambitions from the deeper long term vision for the country's welfare, aligning his choices with the ethical considerations rather than the short term political gains. That's insightful. Now, moving on to specific situations from the series. How could techniques like Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, or even more advanced practices like Gayatri Japa help in scenarios where politicians face overwhelming pressure and conflicting advice? In Yes Minister, we see that Hacker is often in a state of internal conflict, particularly when he is faced with a barrage of advice from Sir Humphrey, who constantly uses complexity and technicality to distract him. The Sudarshan Kriya is an excellent tool for clearing mental fog and enhancing clarity. It's a rhythmic breathing technique that revitalizes the body and mind. For someone like Hacker, practicing Sudarshan Kriya would help in moments of decision making, giving him a sense of inner stillness amidst the noise of chaos of the political landscape. When we think of pranayama, the practice of controlled breath work, it's incredibly effective in managing stress and emotional reactions. In a show like Yes Minister, where characters are often caught in the whirlwind of political pressure, pranayama would help reduce anxiety, keeping the mind calm and the body energized. Sir Humphreys' manipulative tactics often create emotional turbulence for a hacker, but by practicing pranayama, he could respond more calmly with a greater emotional intelligence and be less reactive to the manipulative strategies of others. Additionally, the Gayatri Japa is a Vedic practice of chanting a specific mantra that is said to purify the mind and increase wisdom. This practice could provide Hacker with a spiritual anchor, offering him the clarity and insight needed to make decisions that are in alignment with the greater good, rather than falling into the trap of superficial political maneuvers. The Gayatri Mantra helps sharpen one's intellect and connects the individual to a higher sense of purpose, something that is crucial for any leader, especially in times of crisis or uncertainty. Exactly. We also see that hacker frequently seeks political cover from others, often deflecting responsibility or using ambiguity to avoid making clear decisions. Agni Karyam, or the act of lighting a fire in ritualistic settings, symbolizes the power of purification and the willingness to face one's fears and responsibilities. If hacker were to integrate a practice like Agni Karyam, which is designed to ignite the inner fire of wisdom and courage, he would approach political decision making with more integrity and less reliance on the evasion tactics that we see throughout the series. Moreover, the practice of Sanyam Sadhana of level 1 and level 2, which is the discipline of the senses, and Trikal Sandhya, the three times of prayer, morning, noon, and evening, instill a profound sense of self discipline and a connection to universal knowledge. These practices remind us to stay grounded and not be swayed by external distractions, something that hacker desperately needs when surrounded by the labyrinth of bureaucracy. I love this connection between the spiritual practices and the challenges in Yes Minister. What would you say about the role of Padma Sadhana and Shakti Kriya in enhancing a leader's effectiveness and wisdom in dealing with complex political systems? Padma Sadhana is a practice of spiritual and emotional balance. The lotus or Padma symbolizes purity and clarity amidst the mud. For someone like Hacker dealing with bureaucracy and the constant barrage of conflicting demands, Padma Sadhana would help maintain a sense of purity in his intentions, even in the face of political and bureaucratic murkiness. It's about navigating complexity with simplicity, a lesson that is central to the challenges Hacker faces in Yes Minister. The practice helps remove emotional baggage and cultivate a pure intent that is aligned with the greater good. Shakti Kriya, on the other hand, is a powerful practice designed to awaken and harness the inner energy of the practitioner. It strengthens the mind, body, and spirit, helping one to be more decisive and effective. For a hacker, the ability to make quick, confident decisions in the face of immense pressure is key to his role. By practicing Shakti Kriya, he would gain the inner strength to withstand external challenges, and his actions would be driven by clarity and purpose rather than fear or political survival instincts. Exactly. And as we think about the overarching themes of the series, especially the tension between public service and bureaucratic self preservation, the practice of sadhana or spiritual discipline comes into play. True leadership comes from a place of selfless service by consistently engaging in spiritual practices such as Trikal Sandhya, Sanyam Sadhana of level 1 and level 2, and Shakti Kriya. A leader can rise above personal ego and truly serve the interests of the people. Yes, Minister shows us how bureaucracy often prioritizes self preservation over public welfare. But the Vedic wisdom embedded in these practices teaches us that true leaders lead from a place of selflessness and connection to a higher purpose, which is often missing in the characters we see on screen. This has been such a rich conversation. To conclude, how do you believe that integrating these tools, whether it's meditation, Sudarshan Kriya, or Vedic rituals, could transform a politician like Hacker and by extension how they interact with the bureaucracy and the political system? By integrating these practices, a politician like Hacker would evolve from a reactive figure into a proactive centered leader. Meditation and breathwork would calm the mind, giving him the mental clarity to make decisions based on long term goals rather than political experience. He practices like Gayatri Japa and Shakti Kriya would imbue him with wisdom and courage and resilience, making him less susceptible to manipulation by the bureaucracy. Precisely when spiritual practices like Upanayanam, Sandhya Vandanam, and Padma Sadhana are integrated, politicians like Hacker would develop a deeper connection to integrity and self awareness, which would fundamentally transform the way they govern and interact with the bureaucracy. They would act from a place of wisdom, responsibility, and service, creating a more harmonious and effective political system. Thank you so much for this enlightening conversation. It's clear that the wisdom from His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankarji and the Vedic practices can offer profound insights into leadership, decision making, and personal growth, not just for politicians but for everyone navigating complex systems. We appreciate you sharing these transformative ideas with us today. Jagudev, and thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure to share these timeless practices with you. May everyone embrace wisdom, peace, and clarity in their lives, Jagudev. Jagudev, thank you both again for your profound insights. Before we conclude, I would like to touch upon a final point. In Yes, Minister, there are moments when hacker seems to be swayed by the pressures of public opinion and political survival. How do practices such as sadhana, sudarshan kriya, and gayatri japa help an individual maintain inner balance and stay true to their principles despite external pressure? Yes, Jay Gurudev, that's an excellent question. In Yes Minister, we see Hacker often torn between his own ambitions and the expectations of the public and his political party. This constant tug of war is not unique to political figures. It's something that we all experience in daily life. The external world often demands certain actions from us, but deep within, we know the right course of action might be something else entirely. This is where practices like sadhana and Sudarshan Kriya come in. Sadhana is a personal discipline that nurtures self awareness, and inner peace, giving a person the strength to stand firm in their values by engaging in daily spiritual practice such as meditation or Sudarshan Kriya. Individuals develop the clarity to distinguish between external pressures and their inner compass. In moments of crisis, when the noise of public opinion becomes overwhelming, these practices help us access a state of calm, allowing us to make decisions from a space of wisdom rather than from fear or reactive impulses. For Hacker, if he were grounded in regular meditation or Sudarshan Kriya, he would be better equipped to face the manipulation from Sir Humphrey and other political figures instead of feeling like he has to please everyone to, or compromise his values for the sake of political expediency. He could act from a place of authentic leadership that serves the larger good. Gayatri Japa is another tool that would significantly help Hacker in such situations. The Gayatri Mantra is not just about intellectual clarity but about invoking a deep spiritual connection that nurtures mental resilience. When recited with sincerity, it purifies the mind and increases the capacity to perceive the truth amidst confusion. In Hacker's case, the Gayatri Japa could act as a reminder of his higher purpose beyond short term gains, helping him stay aligned with his long term vision, unaffected by the constant shifting tides or political pressure. Absolutely. In the Vedic tradition, we believe that the practice of Trikal Sandhya, performing rituals and prayers at tricky points in the day, helps align one's mind, body, and spirit, allowing an individual to reconnect with their inner wisdom. Just like Hacker is consistently torn between different pressures in Yes Minister, many people face similar conflicts between external expectations and inner truth. Trikal Sandhya gives a person the discipline to anchor themselves throughout the day amidst the ups and downs of life. When a leader or any individual practices regular spiritual discipline, whether it's through Sanyam Sadhana of level 1 and level 2, that is control over the senses, or Padma Sadhana, it trains them to act from a place of steadfastness rather than from fleeting emotions. Leadership requires both clarity and resilience, and these practices ensure that an individual's actions are not swayed by external influences. A politician like Hacker, caught up in the daily pressures of his role, would greatly benefit from these practices as they would provide the mental and emotional stability necessary to resist the temptations of ego driven decisions and manipulations from others. In one particular episode of Yes Minister, Hacker struggles to stay true to his values when making decisions that are likely to affect his political future. Sadhana, such as daily meditation or Shakti Kriya, would empower him to detach from fear driven decisions and focus on making choices based on long term goals rather than short term gratification. These practices build inner strength and equip individuals with the clarity to make decisions from a place of wisdom, peace, and alignment with their values. This leads me to another thought. Yes, Minister often showcases the political world as a place where self interest and the desire for power sometimes overshadow the greater good. How can the teachings of selfless service and detachment from results, as emphasized by His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji, help shift this dynamic in real world politics? That's an important point. In Yes Minister, we see characters constantly engaging in self serving behavior, trying to maintain or expand their powers. This is the nature of ego driven actions. Whether in politics or any other field, the need for control, approval, and recognition often leads individuals to act in ways that don't serve the greater good. The teachings of selfless service and detachment from results are transformative. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji often speaks about the importance of performing actions with a sense of detachment. When we serve others without attachment to the outcome, the work becomes purer and we act with integrity and clarity. This doesn't mean inaction or passivity. Rather, it's about serving with purpose and compassion without being driven by personal desires. In the context of Yes Minister, if Hacker were to act with the mindset of selfless service, he would make decisions based on what is best for the people, not what serves his political career. He would be more concerned with long term impact than immediate rewards, and his leadership would inspire trust and respect rather than manipulation and conflict. This teaching of detachment also helps avoid the negative consequences of over identifying with one's position. Leaders like Hacker can get so caught up in their role that they lose sight of their greater purpose. By practicing detachment from results One learns to not be attached to the success or failure, but to stay focused on doing what is right with the knowledge that the outcomes are not in our hands. Exactly, the essence of karma yoga or selfless action is something that could deeply influence the political landscape. A leader who practices this understands that they are merely an instrument of change and their actions are for the benefit of the greater good. In Vedic teachings, this is encapsulated in the idea of performing duties without attachment to personal gain. If Hacker adopted the principles of karma yoga, he would stop viewing every decision through the lens of how it impacts his career. Instead, he would look at each choice in terms of how it contributes to the well being of the nation. This kind of leadership would be far more effective and lead to a harmonious relationship with the bureaucracy, something Hacker struggles to achieve in the show. Additionally, Shakti Kriya helps ignite the inner strength and willpower to remain aligned with one's higher purpose, no matter what external pressures are at play. If Hacker embraced this practice, his leadership would shift from reactive to proactive, moving from ego based decisions to those that genuinely serve the common good. These are truly transformative insights. As we wrap up, it's clear that the integration of spiritual practices such as meditation, Sudarshan Kriya, and Gayatri Japa and selfless service can offer not only personal peace but also a more effective ethical approach to leadership. Through such practices, we can transform the way leaders like Hacker navigate complex political systems and ultimately make decisions that benefit the greater good. Thank you again for sharing such valuable knowledge. It's been a pleasure speaking with you both today, Jagodev. Jagodev, it's been our pleasure as well. We hope that the wisdom of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji and the time-tested practices of the Vedic tradition can inspire political leaders and individuals alike to move beyond ego-driven motivations and act with compassion, clarity, and integrity. May we all work towards a world where leadership is guided by wisdom and service to humanity. Thank you, and may this wisdom inspire us all to lead with purpose, clarity, and peace. Jairudev, it's truly inspiring to hear how deeply the practices of the art of living in Vedic traditions can enhance leadership, decision making, and even interpersonal dynamics, not just in politics but in any area of life. Before we conclude, I would like to ask one more question. In Yes Minister, we often see Sir Humphreys' mastery of bureaucratic control, manipulating situations and controlling information to maintain power. How can the practice of truthfulness and transparency, as advocated by His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji, help combat such manipulative tactics in the political arena? That's a fantastic question, especially given the central theme of manipulation in Yes Minister. Sir Humphrey's skill in managing information and creating bureaucratic fog is a classic example of how power can be manipulated through lack of transparency. His ability to obscure the truth and lead others to believe what he wants them to believe is a direct reflection of how many political systems function, often creating confusion and leveraging ignorance to control the situation. Now, the wisdom from His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankar Ji emphasizes truthfulness and transparency as fundamental values in any aspect of life, including leadership. In fact, his teaching suggests that truth is not just about speaking the right words, it's about living in alignment with the truth. When a leader practices truthfulness, their actions, words, and intentions becomes aligned. This alignment creates a sense of trust and authenticity, which is exactly what is missing in the political gamesmanship we see in Yes Minister. For someone like Hacker, embracing truthfulness would mean having the courage to speak openly even when it is uncomfortable. Instead of relying on half truths or vague political maneuvering like Sir Humphrey, Hacker could cut through the bureaucracy with honest dialogue, setting clear goals for transparency. While honestly might not always be easy, especially in politics, it has the power to break the cycle of manipulation and allow leaders to lead with integrity. Pranayama, meditation, and Sudarshan Kriya can further enhance the practice of truthfulness. These tools help clear the mind and body of negative emotions, allowing us to act with greater clarity and authenticity. When you are centered and calm, you are less likely to be tempted into manipulation or dishonest behavior and more likely to communicate from a place of truth. Absolutely. In Vedic philosophy, Satyam or truth is considered one of the highest virtues. The importance of truthfulness is ingrained deeply in the way we approach both personal and public life. As we see in Yes Minister, Sir Humphreys' tactics often rely on misdirection and manipulating the truth for political convenience. Truthfulness, however, brings stability and alignment to our actions. If Hacker were to adopt a path of truthful service, he would find that while the political maneuvering might seem easier in the short term, leading with integrity leads to greater respect and authority in the long run. Transparency in governance, in particular, helps create systems that are not only more efficient but also just and fair. The public would trust their leaders more if those leaders adhere to a practice of truthful governance. Additionally, incorporating practices such as Sangyam Sadhana of level 1 and level 2 of control over senses and Trikal Sandhya would help a leader like Hacker maintain a steady focus free from the manipulation of ego and desire. These practices offer clarity of mind and purity of intention, which would empower Hacker to make decisions that are authentic and just, as opposed to the politically expedient choices that often cloud decision making. That's a powerful message, truthfulness and transparency as the cornerstones of ethical leadership. Moving beyond the political realm, how can these tools and principles be applied to other aspects of life, especially in dealing with personal relationships or workplace dynamics? How can someone practicing these methods stay true to their values and principles without falling prey to manipulation or external pressures, much like we did in Yes Minister? It's a very relevant question. The same principles that apply to leadership and politics can also be applied to personal relationships and professional environments, just like in Yes Minister, where individuals are constantly trying to manipulate situations for personal gains. We see similar dynamics in workplaces or even friendships. People often face pressure to conform, manipulate situations, or act in ways that are not aligned with their values. Here again, the practices of meditation, Sudarshan Kriya, and sadhana offer profound tools. Meditation helps an individual connect with their inner self away from the noise and distractions of the external world. In both personal and professional life, when you have the ability to sit quietly and connect with your true essence, you create a space of clarity that allows you to make decisions from a place of wisdom and calm rather than from a place of reactivity or fear of what others think. Additionally, Sudarshan Kriya can help dissolve stress and emotional turbulence, which often leads us to make decisions based on external approval or fear of rejection. This is where we often see the most manipulation. When individuals act out of fear, they become more susceptible to being controlled. By practicing Sudarshan Kriya, individuals can regain their emotional resilience, which will allow them to stand firm in their values without succumbing to external pressures. In terms of personal relationships, when we operate with truthfulness and authenticity, we create deeper connections. People appreciate honesty even if it is difficult. Practicing selflessness in relationships, as His Holiness Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji teaches, means offering love and compassion without attachment to outcomes. This takes the pressure off, allowing for genuine connections to flourish. You no longer feel the need to manipulate the situation for your benefit, but instead act in a way that serves the best interest of everyone involved.